The Galactic Defense Academy was the most famous training center in the galaxy. It was a place where young humans and aliens came to learn how to fight, lead, and protect their worlds. The academy was huge, with silver towers, wide-open courtyards, and training arenas that floated in the sky. The students were the best of the best, chosen from many planets. Everyone who studied there had big dreams. One large lecture hall was full of students. Today's class was called History of Great Battles. The room was silent as the lights dimmed. At the front, the professor, a tall alien with 4 arms and gray skin, stood beside a large screen. "This clip," the professor said in a deep voice, "shows a real battle. One of the most famous stands in modern history. No one knew the soldier's name, but his actions saved an entire colony." The screen lit up. The footage was old and shaky. Smoke and fire filled the battlefield. Screams and explosions echoed from every corner. The camera zoomed in on a narrow canyon where one soldier stood alone with a broken arm and blood on his face. His armor was damaged, and he was out of ammo. Still, he didn't give up. He picked up weapons from fallen enemies. He set traps. He used the terrain. He moved fast and hit hard. For 3 long hours, that soldier held back wave after wave of insect-like enemies called the Vrask. His courage saved the colony behind him until help arrived. The screen went dark. Gasps filled the room. Some cadets clapped. A few aliens lowered their heads in respect. The professor turned back to the class. "This, students, is what true bravery looks like. A lone soldier who chose not to run. He fought, even when hope was gone. To this day, no one knows who he was. The face was never clear. His records were lost in the fire." Silence hung in the air. Then a quiet voice spoke from the back row. "That's me." Everyone turned. It was a young human cadet sitting alone. He had short brown hair and calm gray eyes. His name was Jace Marin. He was only 19 years old. Most people didn't notice him before. He didn't talk much. He always sat at the back. Now all eyes were on him. The professor raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me, Cadet Marin, what did you say?" Jace stood up slowly. His voice was low but clear. "That soldier in the clip, that was me." The room froze. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then whispers started. "Is he joking? He's too young. That battle happened 6 years ago. Is he lying?" One alien cadet laughed. "You? Don't be stupid. You would have been 13 years old back then." Jace didn't smile. "I was. Best the—" Room grew quiet again. The professor's eyes narrowed. "Do you understand the seriousness of what you're saying, Cadet?" Jace nodded. "Yes, sir." Without another word, the professor touched a small device. A blue light scanned the room, locking onto Jace's ID tag. A moment later, a soft beep came from the professor's pad. The professor stared at the screen for a long time. Then, very slowly, he said, "Cadet Jace Marin, you have restricted files attached to your record." Gasps again. That meant top-level secrecy. No student was supposed to have that. Only high-ranking officers or spies. The professor tapped his pad again. He frowned. "These files are blocked, even to me." That was unheard of. Jace looked down. "I didn't mean to cause trouble, I recognized the clip." One alien student, Prince Talvon of Hark Res, stood up. He was tall, with shining gold armor and glowing red eyes. His voice was loud and proud. "This is a trick," Talvon said. "A human wants to steal glory. No child fought that battle. It's a lie." Jace didn't react. "Believe what you want." The professor raised a hand. "Enough. This matter must go higher." He pressed a button. The doors to the lecture hall locked. A soft voice from the wall said, "Command notified. Stand by." Minutes later, a small group of officers entered the room. One was a human admiral, her uniform clean and sharp. The others were alien generals. They walked straight to Jace. "You're coming with us," the Admiral said. Jace nodded. He walked, past the rows of staring cadets without looking up. The door closed behind him. Jace sat in a dark room, across from the Admiral and the generals. They had pulled up his real record, the one hidden from the other students. It told a different story. Jace had been part of Project Orion, a secret program created by Earth's military during the first Vrask invasion. The program trained gifted orphans and young survivors to fight in extreme conditions. These children were smart, fast, and deadly. They were called Ghost Cadets. At age 13, Jace was sent on real missions. One of those missions was the defense of Trenza Canyon, the same battle shown in the clip. He wasn't supposed to survive, but he did. The Admiral sighed. "You were just a boy. You were never supposed to fight like that." "I was trained for it," Jace said quietly. The alien general, next to her, looked at the file. "No wonder your tactics looked like textbook work. We studied you, and didn't even know it." Jace said nothing. The Admiral leaned forward. "Why did you come to the Academy?" Jace answered after a pause. "I want to earn it this time. No secrets. No hidden missions. I want to train like everyone else." The room was silent. The Admiral nodded slowly. "All right. Then your past stays buried. For now. But you must be careful, Jace. The truth could cause trouble, especially with the alien cadets." "I understand." Back at the lecture hall, the cadets were still talking. "Do you think it's true?" "There's no way he fought that battle. The professor locked the files. That means something." "What if he is the soldier?" Prince Talvon crossed his arms. "He didn't. Like being proven wrong. He didn't trust humans much. He's hiding something," Talvon muttered. "I will find out what." But somewhere deep inside, even he had to admit, there was something about Jace that felt different. Something heavy in his eyes. Like someone who had already seen too much. Later that night, Jace sat alone in the dorm tower. He looked out at the stars. The war was far from over. The Vrask were still out there, still spreading, still killing. And Jace knew one day he'd have to fight again. But this time, he wouldn't be a secret. This time, the whole galaxy would see him coming. The next morning, the Galactic Defense Academy was buzzing with whispers. "Did you hear about Jace? They say he was in a real war when he was a kid. Some say he's not even a real cadet, just a weapon." Jace Marin walked through the Academy halls with a calm face. But inside, he felt the weight of many eyes watching him. Every alien, every human, every instructor seemed to turn and stare when he passed. He didn't like attention. Not anymore. He just wanted to be normal. But that dream was already broken. Later that day, in the command tower of the Academy, a secret meeting was taking place. High-ranking officers sat around a long table, each of them looking at a glowing screen. The screen showed a single name, Jace Marin, Admiral Voss. A strong woman with short silver hair tapped her finger on the screen. "We've confirmed it. Cadet Jace Marin is the soldier from the Trenza Canyon battle. DNA, movement analysis, and voice match all say it's him." One alien general, a tall being with glowing blue eyes, shook his head. "How can a child survive that? He fought alone for 3 hours." "He wasn't just a child," said Admiral Voss. "He was part of Project Orion." The room grew quiet. Everyone had heard of Project Orion, but most thought it was just a rumor. It was a secret program Earth launched during the first wave of the Vrask War. Orphans and young survivors were taken in. Some were as young as 10. They were trained to be ghost soldiers, fighters who could do what no adult dared. Fast, silent, and deadly. "They were never meant to be public," Voss said. "They were used in special missions. High risk, no backup, no records." "And Jace was one of them?" "He was the best," Voss said. "But after Trenza Canyon, we lost track of him. We thought he was dead. Turns out he left the program himself and disappeared. He applied to the academy under a false name. We only found out because of that battle clip. One of the alien commanders leaned forward. What do we do with him now? We let him stay, Voss replied. He wants to be a cadet. Let him train like the others. But we keep an eye on him. If the Vrask return, we may need him again. That evening, Jace sat alone in the library. He stared at a screen showing basic starship controls. He had already learned all this as a child, but he still studied. He wanted to earn everything the right way this time. Suddenly, someone sat across from him. It was Talavon, the proud alien prince who had mocked him before. His red eyes stared into Jace's. "You fought at Trenza Canyon?" Talavon asked. Jace didn't look up. "Yes." "You were 13? "Yes." Talavon frowned. "Why?" Jace finally looked at him. "Because I had no choice. Earth was burning. I was alone, and I was trained to fight." For a moment, Talavon said nothing. Then he leaned back and crossed his arms. "You are strange, human, but maybe not a liar." He stood up and walked away. Jace let out a small sigh. That was the closest thing to respect he'd ever gotten from Talavon. Later that night, Jace was called to a special room in the training tower. Inside, Admiral Voss was waiting. She stood beside a large round table. On the surface of the table, a hologram showed a battle map, a dark region of space called the Karsus Line. "The Vrask are moving again," she said quietly. "We've detected activity near a border world." Jace looked at the map. "Is it confirmed?" "Not yet. But we're preparing. And if war returns, we may need more than just cadets." She turned to face him. "I want you to tell me about Project Orion." "Everything." Jace stared at the map for a long time. Then he began to speak. He told her about the secret bases, the cold training rooms, the endless drills, the weapons training, survival tests, and combat missions. "We were taught to fight like machines," he said. "No fear, no mercy, no rest." "How many of you were there?" Voss asked. Jace hesitated. 50. In the beginning. But after 2 years, only 6 were left. Voss clenched her jaw. "That's a horror story, not a training program." "It worked," Jace replied quietly. Voss looked at him. "You're not a weapon anymore, Jace. You're a person, a cadet. Don't forget that." He gave a small nod, but deep down he knew part of him would always be a weapon. The next few weeks passed quietly. Jace trained with the others. He fought in mock battles, learned fleet command, and studied alien languages. Slowly, some cadets started to treat him like one of their own. A few even asked for advice. He never boasted. He just helped quietly and then walked away. But not everyone was friendly. Some alien cadets feared him. Others were jealous. One night, Jace found his bed covered in red paint. On the wall, someone had written, "Monster." He didn't report it. He just cleaned the mess and went back to training. The next day, during a hand-to-hand combat test, he was paired with one of the bullies, a large alien named Droln, known for picking fights. The match started. Droln came in fast, trying to overpower him, but Jace moved with quiet speed, one twist, one step, one clean strike. Droln hit the ground, unconscious. The room went silent. The instructor called the match. Jace helped Droln up and walked away. He never smiled. That evening, Jace sat on the rooftop garden of the academy. He looked at the stars. His mind went back to old memories, broken cities, fire and screams. But he also remembered something else. A small voice. His sister's voice. "Don't let them turn you into a ghost." She had said that before she died. Before the Vrask took her. He closed his eyes. "I'm trying," he whispered. Far away, in deep space, a Vrask warship drifted in the shadows. Inside, the Queen's voice clicked and echoed. The human weapon has returned. We saw him in the footage. A dozen insect-like commanders bowed before her. Should we strike now? One asked. No, said the queen. Let him grow. Let him think he is safe. Then we will finish what we started. Her red eyes gleamed in the dark. The Galactic Defense Academy was built to prepare young cadets for war, but most of them had never seen real battle. They trained in safety, under bright lights and strong shields. They studied maps, tactics, and weapons inside comfortable halls. But Jace Marin was different. He didn't just study war. He had lived it, and now war was coming again. It started with a single word: distress. A small colony on the border of human and alien space, Delva's 9, sent out a weak signal. The message was broken and full of static, but one part came through clearly. Vrask. Approaching. Shields failing. Need help. The Galactic Command received it first, then quickly passed the warning to all defense stations. Inside the Academy's command center, alarms flashed. Instructors and officers rushed to their stations. Admiral Voss stood in the center watching a large map of the galaxy. A red dot blinked near the Karsus line. Delva's 9 has a small defense force, said one officer. They won't last long. Send reinforcements, Voss ordered. Now! But the nearest fleet was 4 days away. Delva's 9 had only 10, hours before the Vrask arrived. Too far. Too late. Inside the Academy dorms, the cadets were told to stay in their rooms. But news spread fast. Did you hear? The Vrask are attacking again. Is it a big fleet? They're going after a border colony. No time to save it. Jace sat by his window, listening. His jaw clenched. He knew what this meant. He had seen it before. First one colony, then another, then a full invasion. A soft knock came at his door. He opened it and saw someone unexpected. Professor Tharn, the alien instructor who had first played the famous battle clip weeks ago. The professor's 4 arms were crossed, his face serious. We need you, he said. Jace didn't ask questions. He followed him. In a hidden room beneath the academy, a small group had gathered: Admiral Voss, a few instructors, and 5 cadets, including Talvon, the alien prince. Talvon glanced at Jace, then looked away. Voss stepped forward. We're sending a stealth shuttle to Delva's 9. It won't stop the Vrask, but it can help the colony evacuate. We need someone who's faced them before to lead this mission. She looked straight at Jace. You know how they fight, how they think. We need your experience. Jace nodded. I'll do it. Talvon stepped forward. You'll need backup. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. You're volunteering? Talvon didn't hesitate. Yes, I may not like him, but I've seen how he fights. If he's going, I'm going too. The others nodded. 3 humans, 2 aliens. All brave. All ready. Admiral Voss gave a firm nod. You launch in 1 hour. The stealth shuttle launched into the night sky. It was small, quiet, and nearly invisible to sensors. Inside, Jace sat at the front with the pilot while the others strapped in. As the stars passed by, Jace checked his gear: pulse rifle, combat knife, smoke grenades, and a portable shield belt. Talvon sat beside him, checking his own alien blaster. I've never fought the Vrask, he said quietly. You will today, Jace replied. They landed near the edge of the colony just before dawn. Delva's 9 was already burning. The sky was black with smoke. Buildings were cracked and broken. Civilians ran through the streets, screaming. In the distance, loud clicks and screeches echoed. The Vrask had arrived. Jace and his team moved fast. They helped children onto transport ships, guided families to shelters, and protected the streets from small scouting drones. But time was short. Soon, the main Vrask swarm would arrive, and then there would be no escape. Main Colony Square is still full, said Talvon. Too many to evacuate in time. Jace looked at the map. We need to hold the square until the last transport leaves. Talvon's eyes widened. You want us to fight them, all of them? Jace nodded. Just long enough. We dig in, slow them down, protect the people. He looked at his team. No heroes, no sacrifices. We fight smart. We fight together. The others nodded. It was time. They set up a defense line at the edge of the square, barricades, mines, drone turrets, sniper positions. Then, silence. The ground began to shake. From the shadows of the jungle beyond the city, the Vrask swarm came. Hundreds of insect-like creatures, sharp claws, glowing red eyes, and thick armor. They ran on 6 legs, fast and deadly. And they were hungry. Jace took a deep breath. Hold the line. The battle exploded like thunder. Laser blasts lit the sky. Explosions shook the ground. The Vrask charged the barricades, climbing over each other to reach the defenders. Jace moved. Like a ghost, fast, silent, deadly. He aimed carefully, wasting no shots. He gave orders calmly, like a veteran general. Left side, reinforce. Turret 2, switch target. Talvon, cover the civilians. Talvon fought with fury, his blaster glowing hot. I didn't come here to die, human. Then don't, Jace replied. Just fight. For 40 minutes, they held. One cadet got hurt. Another ran out of ammo. But still, they didn't fall. The last transport ship lifted off from the square, carrying the final group of colonists. Jace watched it rise into the sky. He smiled. They're safe. Then he turned. The Vrask were still coming. We have to go, shouted Talvon. Jace looked at the team. Fall back to the shuttle. I'll cover you. Talvon grabbed his arm. No, not this time. We stay together. Jace paused, then nodded. Together, they ran through burning streets, blasting Vrask that chased them. Smoke filled their lungs. Debris blocked their path. They reached the shuttle. Just as the swarm turned the corner, the pilot screamed, Go, go, go! The ramp closed. The engines roared. The shuttle lifted off. Outside, the Vrask screeched in rage. Inside the shuttle, everyone was quiet. Jace sat with his head against the wall, eyes closed. Talvon sat beside him. You're insane, the alien prince said. Jace smiled faintly. You're not so bad yourself. Talvon chuckled. You fought like a warrior today, not just a ghost. Jace opened his eyes. Maybe I can be both. Back at the academy, the cadets were greeted like heroes. News of the mission spread. Quickly. Videos showed Jace and Talvon standing side by side, protecting civilians. For many, it was the first time they saw different species fighting as one. Admiral Voss met them at the shuttle pad. You disobeyed my order to avoid direct combat, she said. Yes, ma'am, Jace replied. You also saved over 500 lives. Yes, ma'am, she stared at him, then smiled. You're no longer just a cadet, Jace Marin. She turned to the others. None of you are. That night, Jace stood on the academy rooftop again, looking at the stars. He didn't feel like a ghost anymore. He felt alive. A warrior. A leader. And as he watched the stars, he knew one thing for sure. The war was not over, but when it came, he would be ready. The mission to Delva's Nine changed everything. Jace Marin was no longer just a name in the system. He was now known across the Galactic Defense Academy and beyond. Videos of the battle spread quickly, Jace giving orders, Talvon fighting beside him, the cadets holding off the Vrask until the last civilians escaped. The galaxy watched, and the galaxy remembered. But the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. A week later, the Academy's command center received a new transmission. The Vrask weren't retreating. They were advancing. Scouts picked up a massive Vrask fleet gathering near the Theron system. It was a peaceful sector with multiple colonies, human, alien, and mixed. The fleet was huge, thousands of ships, more than anyone had ever seen. A full invasion was coming. Admiral Voss stood before a large screen, her face hard and serious. We have 3 days before the Vrask reach Theron Prime, she said to the officers around her. Evacuation has already begun, but we need time. Every hour counts. Someone asked, "Do we have a fleet ready to fight them?" Voss shook her head. "No. Our closest fleet is 6 days away. We're out of time." One of the alien generals asked, "Then what can we do?" Voss looked at the screen. "We hold the line." Inside the academy, a meeting was held with the top cadets, those who had real combat experience. Jace, Talvon, and the others from the Delvas 9 mission were there. Voss entered the room. "You all know what's coming," she said. "A Vrask fleet, bigger than anything we've seen before. Our job is to delay them." Jace stepped forward. "You want us to fight again?" Voss nodded. "We're sending a small task force to Theron Prime. The goal isn't to win, it's to buy time. Hold the capital city for as long as you can. Keep the Vrask busy while civilians escape. You'll be working with both soldiers and local defense forces." Silence filled the room. Finally, Talvon spoke. "How long do we need to hold?" Voss looked him in the eyes. 3 hours. Jace remembered that number well. He had held Trenza Canyon for 3 hours. He nodded. "We can do it." The next day, a large transport ship left the academy heading for Theron Prime. Jace sat beside Talvon, checking his gear. "You ever think we're not coming back?" Talvon asked. Jace shrugged. "Every time." Talvon gave a crooked smile. "Good, then we'll fight like it." Behind them, other cadets prepared silently. Some were nervous, some were ready. All of them knew the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. When the transport landed on Theron Prime, the capital city was already preparing for war. Shields were rising, turrets were being placed, civilians were being moved underground or loaded onto ships. Jace and his team met with the local commander, a short, sharp-eyed woman named Captain Rena. "We've got 20,000 civilians still in the city," she said. "Most of our forces are guarding the evacuation zones. That means you are the front line." "How many Vrask?" Jace asked. Rena looked tired. "All of them." The cadets moved fast. They studied the city layout, marked choke points, set traps, and coordinated with drone teams. Jace led the planning. He knew how the Vrask thought, how they moved, attacked, and hunted. He knew they were fast, strong, and smart in numbers. But he also knew they weren't ready for what was coming. This time they wouldn't face a scared colony. They would face him. The sun began to set over the city. The sky turned red, then black. Then the ground began to shake. The Vrask had arrived. From the east side of the city, the first wave attacked, hundreds of insect-like beasts charging toward the defense line. Jace stood at the front, calm and focused. "Positions," he said through. His calm, turrets spun up, drones flew out, shields shimmered to life, and then, battle. Lasers flew. Explosions lit up the sky. The Vrask screamed as they hit traps, mines, and heavy fire. Jace moved through the chaos, giving orders, helping injured cadets, and firing with deadly aim. Talvon led the defense at the north wall. He fought like a true warrior prince, fearless and loud, rallying the troops beside him. "For the Academy!" he shouted. "For the galaxy!" At his side, a group of alien cadets pushed back the Vrask with teamwork and courage. On the west side, a sniper team slowed the enemy swarm with perfect shots. Every bullet saved a life, and above the city, drones flew in tight patterns, giving real-time updates. Still, the Vrask kept coming. 2 hours passed. Half the city was damaged. Buildings were cracked. Fires burned in every corner. But the evacuation was still going. Transport ships lifted into the sky every few minutes, carrying hundreds of people to safety. Inside the command bunker, Captain Rena looked at the timer. 1 more hour. She turned to the screen, showing Jace and his team still holding the line. "They're doing it," she whispered. "They're really doing it." But then, something changed. From the shadows behind the Vrask army, a new shape appeared. A massive beast, taller than buildings, with thick armor and glowing red eyes. It was the Vrask warlord. The creature roared, sending fear through the defenders. Even the bravest cadets froze for a moment. Jace stared at the screen. "Bring down the last wall," he said. Talvon replied, "That wall's our last defense." Jace shook his head. "We need the warlord to come in. We can't kill it from a distance. Bring it in and trap it." He laid out the plan quickly. If the beast crossed the last wall, they would collapse part of the city structure on it. But it was risky. One mistake, and they'd all die. Talvon grinned. "You love impossible plans, don't you?" Jace smiled. "They're the only kind I know." The wall came down. The warlord roared and charged into the city. Jace and his team lured it toward the marked building, an old power tower made of heavy steel. Cables, charges, and traps were set all around it. The battle around them faded. All focus was on this final fight. The warlord swung a giant claw and smashed a turret. Talvon was thrown across the street. Jace ran, dodged, and fired again and again. "Now!" he shouted. One cadet hit the detonator. The building exploded. Steel. Beams fell. The tower crashed down. The warlord screamed. Then, silence. Smoke filled the air. Dust settled, and when it cleared, the beast was buried, dead. The comm crackled. "Evacuation complete," said Captain Rena. "Everyone's out." Jace fell to his knees, breathing hard. He looked around. Talvon stood nearby, limping but alive. Other cadets sat or leaned on walls, tired and hurt, but smiling. They had done it. They had held the line for 3 hours. Back at the academy, the cadets were welcomed like heroes. The Galactic Council sent messages of thanks. Even alien leaders who once distrusted humans now bowed their heads in respect. And once again, across the galaxy, videos of Jace Marin played on every screen. Not as a nameless ghost, but as a leader, a protector, a warrior. In one classroom, young cadets watched a new clip. Jace standing beside the collapsed warlord covered in ash, face calm. One student whispered, "That's the same guy from the old battle. Clip, right?" Another nodded. "Yeah, that's him." A third asked, "What's his rank now?" The answer came quietly from their instructor. "He's not just a cadet anymore. He's a legend." The war wasn't over. The Vrask had been pushed back, but they were not defeated. More battles would come, more blood would be spilled. But something had changed, something important. For the first time in many years, the galaxy had hope, and that hope had a name. Jace Marine. After the Battle of Theron Prime, the cadets were brought back to the Galactic Defense Academy. Their ship landed in silence. There were no trumpets, no music, only the hum of engines and the cold night air. But as the doors opened, they saw something they didn't expect. Thousands of cadets and instructors standing in salute. The entire academy had gathered. Humans and aliens alike stood shoulder to shoulder. Many had tears in their eyes. Some stood with pride, some with awe. At the front of the crowd stood Admiral Voss, her uniform sharp and her eyes focused on Jace. She stepped forward as Jace and the others walked down the ramp. "You did it," she said softly. "You held the line. You gave us time. You saved lives." Jace simply nodded. "We worked together. That's what mattered." Talvon, limping but smiling, added, "Not bad for a bunch of cadets, hmm?" The crowd laughed lightly. Voss raised her voice. "Today, you are no longer students. You are soldiers. You have earned your place in history." Then she looked straight at Jace. "And you, Cadet Marin, are no longer just a name in a file." She tapped her wrist pad. A hologram appeared beside her, showing the original battle clip, the old footage from Trenza Canyon, the clip that started everything. Then the screen changed. It now showed new footage, Jace on Theron Prime, standing above the fallen Vrask warlord, calm and steady. 2 battles, 2. 2 victories, 2 moments that had shaken the galaxy. The crowd watched in silence. Then Voss turned off the screen. "Now," she said, "everyone knows who you are." News of Jace spread far beyond the academy. Human colonies spoke of him with pride. Alien worlds shared his name with honor. Some called him a legend, some called him a symbol, some simply called him the ghost who returned. But Jace didn't care about fame. He only cared about one thing: peace. And he knew peace would not come easily. A few days later, Jace stood alone in the Academy's old training yard. It was late evening. The sky above was dark blue, filled with stars. He held a training blade in his hand, moving slowly, practicing the forms he had learned long ago. Footsteps echoed behind him. Talavon appeared, his arms crossed. "You never stop training," Talavon said. Jace gave a small smile. "War doesn't wait." Talavon nodded. "That's true, but still. You should rest. You've done enough." Jace lowered the blade. "Not yet." The alien prince stepped closer. "There's a meeting tomorrow. The Galactic Council wants to offer you something." Jace raised an eyebrow. "What?" "They want to promote you. Not just a rank. They want to make you a symbol, a face of unity." Jace frowned. "I'm not a symbol. I'm just a soldier." "You're more than that," Talavon said quietly. "You gave aliens and humans something, to believe in each other." Jace didn't answer. But deep inside, he knew Talavon was right. The next day, Jace stood before the Galactic Council. The meeting hall was wide and bright. Flags of many worlds hung from the ceiling. Alien leaders and human generals sat in high seats, watching him with careful eyes. Admiral Voss stood beside him. A tall alien leader with silver skin stood up. "Jace Marin," he said, "you have become more than a warrior. You have become a bridge between species, between fear and trust. We ask you now to take on a new role, peace envoy of the Galactic Defense Force." There was silence in the room. Then, softly, Jace spoke. "I am honored," he said, "but I will accept only if I can still fight beside the people I protect. I don't want to wear a crown or sit in meetings while others bleed." Murmurs rose in the room. The alien nodded. "Then you will be both, a warrior and a voice." Jace bowed his head. "Then I accept." Over the next weeks, Jace visited many planets, some human, some alien, some both. He didn't give speeches. He gave promises. He met with young cadets, injured soldiers, and frightened civilians. He stood beside them. He listened to them. He reminded them that the war wasn't lost and that they weren't alone. Everywhere he went, people stood taller. They felt stronger because they had seen what one human, one quiet soldier could do when he refused to give up. But while Jace traveled, something darker was growing. The Vrask Queen had seen the clips too. She had watched the battles. She had seen the humans stand with aliens, and she did not like it. She hissed in anger as her generals knelt before her. "The ghost has returned," one of them said. "He is dangerous," said another. The Queen's voice echoed in the dark chamber. "Then we must show the galaxy. He can die." She gave a command. "Send the Reaper fleet." Jace returned to the academy for a short time. The halls were quiet. The training yards felt strange now. He was no longer a student here. He had become something more. That night, he stood on the rooftop again. The stars above seemed peaceful, but his heart was not. Admiral Voss joined him. She handed him a data pad. "The Vrask have sent a new fleet. It's heading toward a key alliance world, Zirath Prime. If that planet falls, the galaxy will lose faith." Jace read the report, then looked up. "I'll go." The final battle came faster than anyone expected. Zerath Prime lit up with warning lights. Civilians fled. Defense systems activated. And then, from the dark edge of space, the Reaper fleet arrived. Black ships, silent, huge, powerful. The Vrask had sent their deadliest force, but this time the defenders were ready, not just with weapons, but with unity, human ships, alien cruisers, mixed crews, shared command, and at the front of the fleet, Jace Marin standing aboard the lead ship, armor shining, voice calm. "This is not just our fight," he said across the comms. "This is everyone's fight. We stand together, or we fall alone." The message spread across all ships. The battle began, and this time, the Vrask were not prepared for a united galaxy. The fight lasted hours. Many ships fell. Many lives were lost, but the Vrask were pushed back, and in the end, the Reaper fleet was broken. Zerath Prime was saved. After the battle, as the galaxy counted its losses and victories, one message echoed across every world. He did it again. Jace. Marin stood at the front and never stepped back. The legend lives again. In a small classroom at the academy, new cadets watched old battle clips. One boy raised his hand. "Who is that man?" The instructor smiled. "That's Jace Marin," she said. "Is he still alive?" the boy asked. The instructor nodded. "Oh yes, he's out there, watching, protecting, not because he has to, but because he chooses to, and far away on a quiet planet, Jace stood alone on a hill, watching the stars. He knew there would always be danger, always another war. But now, he would never face it alone. The galaxy had changed, and he had helped change it, not just with a gun, but with hope.